Okay, so when we talked last, I don't know, how long ago was that? About a year ago?
About 2 months ago or something, maybe?
It was 2 months ago?
It might have been.
Oh my god, that goes to show how... I just can't even keep track of time. Okay, so tell me how you've been and how was that, or how did that consult, how did that work for you? Because when we don't follow up or work at right after, I just assume if you're doing well, it helped. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it definitely helped. After the conversation, I remember one of the things he talked about was shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I could, I guess, intellectually or thinking about it, I knew it was there, but I feel like at the point of our conversation, I hadn't really gone into it, like how you said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened just recently was where, like, I guess I kind of felt all that shame again, and I wasn't trying to, like, distract myself from it.
Yeah, you weren't repressing it.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
You didn't repress it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I was in the kitchen and, like, I knew it was about to happen. I was like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. I'm feeling the shame right now, and I'm about to binge and throw up, and I know this whole cycle already. But the thing is I was trying to really, really just be honest and listen to what the shame was, I guess, speaking. And what ended up happening was I ended up, like, crying on the kitchen floor and not even really
Mm-hmm.
just kind of feeling all the emotions about that was going on. And it was kind of different because I've been repressing it for so long, and I remember you speaking about it, and I knew it was there, but at the same time I hadn't really, I guess, felt it. So
yeah, it's like it's like you had been coping, right? So when someone copes, they have that emotion, but they're trying to even it out so that it isn't a problem or it doesn't exist, right? So we do that by there's a lot of different mechanisms that people use to get rid of shame. So we compensate, right? So there's an underlying shame or belief that creates the shame that you have failed, that you suck, that you are inferior, that you are all those things, right? And more. And so what we do is we say, well, I can make myself feel better. Like I can be amazing, equal oppositely in a different area. And that means that I don't have anything to be ashamed of because I'm proving myself. Right. And so you might have felt all this shame underneath it all, but you're trying to prove yourself so that you can go away. Does that make sense? So there might be coping mechanisms that you're trying to use to prove I'm not a bad person. I've got good grades. I wear nice clothes. I'm thin. I'm attractive. I'm fit. All these things that I'm doing right. But it's a lot that you have to do to make up for the shame underneath it. And not only is there a lot you have to make up for, and if it isn't a lot, it's whatever you're doing has to be perfect. It has to be so exact and controlled. Make sense? And if it's not, the shame comes out. It's like a crack, and the shame comes out like lava. Then you got to cover it up or fix it. And so with a binge and purge, it's in relation to I'm going to be fat. I ruined my diet. I'm going to gain weight. It's always that. Always.
Yeah.
Why else would you do it? And then purge.
Right.
That whole thing is based on thinness. There is no reason otherwise for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the goal of being thin do you see the goal of being thin really is compensating for under shame even further underneath that? So I know for me with my bulimia, when I was in that space, the thinness was my way to compensate for feeling super ashamed about my religious failure. I had failed the religious, beliefs that I held myself to and I honored, right? Sacred. I will not have sex till marriage type of stuff. I mean, sexual morality for me. And so when I had totally failed that, I felt like such a piece of shit. The only way I could think or calculate out or to cope and make myself feel better was to magnify how awesome I am because I am so athletic and I'm so thin and I have the perfect stomach. And, right? So that was my way of going, that will make me feel better. So then when I failed the diet or exercise, what do you think came out underneath all that? The original sin, right? The original shame.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's not just I'm ashamed because I failed the diet. I failed and I'm not going to be thin today and I'm going to be fat tomorrow. That extreme cognitive distortion came up. But underneath that was this boiling lava of shame from the moral sins that I had committed. I laugh at it now because it's such a mind game. Mm-hmm. It's a mind game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like for me it was like I live on this religious planet, and the only way for me to stay in this planet is to prove that I am not a sinner, and I do that by being thin and healthy and fit. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
So you may have been trying to compensate and cope and compensate and fix, and that kind of distracts your conscious mind. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to make money. I want to go to school. I want to be intelligent. I want to be, good looking. I want to be attractive. There's all those ways we compensate. And it's distracting our conscious mind. It gives us something to try to feel better about. So oftentimes we lose sight why we feel so bad about ourselves. We don't understand where the original badness comes from.
Like things like being worthy of love or something.
Totally. Yeah. Underneath it all, there's a belief, right? When I said the original sin, what I'm talking about is what is wrong with you to where you truly believe I am unworthy or I'm afraid to be unworthy of love.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So there's something there to where you believe it. If you didn't believe it, it wouldn't create you wouldn't get this emotional response. You wouldn't have the shame. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were sitting there on the kitchen floor and crying and feeling all of it, what came up? Besides the fact that you felt the shame you had failed some diet. So for you to binge, I know you had been restricting or trying not to gain weight. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea is you're trying not to feel shame. I want you to really understand the symbolism that is. Because I know you believe that you need to be thin and you don't want to be fat. But if you really look at what you're trying to get, it's like you're trying to get people to think it's an illusion of you want them to look at you and perceive you as valuable. Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you gain weight, they will look at you and perceive you as not valuable. Right? So the symbolism is value. Lovability, right? It's not really the thinness so much as it is the symbolism that it means to you and to what you think it means to others. Mm-hmm. That was a big part for me to actually become aware of it. What was amazing for me in my recovery is it didn't click for me that the reason I was so obsessed with food and so controlling around it, and it was so catastrophic if I didn't do it right, and which also promoted the purge, right? And any action, not just the vomiting, but the exercise purging.
Yeah.
Is all because gaining weight would be proof that I had failed, that I really was a failure. It was like, and I was so afraid of the embarrassment that I couldn't even handle my own weight. I can't handle religion. I can't even handle my own body. Like, I am a failure. And I believed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think it is for you?
What came up during that whole episode, I guess, in the kitchen where I started crying and stuff, was basically like, I guess it just came down to one of the things I kept saying when I was saying that is just, like, I just want to be loved, because that was what was driving all those emotions. Like, being in, I guess, a lot of what came up with was, like, peer stuff, I guess, maybe.
Okay. And what, like what? Peer?
Like, I guess just not knowing how to, I guess the sense of, like value, I guess, wanting to be valued by other people, because, like, in school, I guess that was something that I didn't have, or that I felt like I lacked something all the time. And then at home, I guess where it really started too was at home when, like, I felt like it would be, I felt threatened with my parents' love. I guess I felt their love being threatened because I was gay or different in some way.
That your parents would abandon you and not value you, or that their love was conditional on your sexuality. Maybe that, did you feel embarrassment, or that you believed? When you came out of the closet, how did they respond to that?
Well, they were always very accepting and everything, but I guess I could just never get over the belief that somehow I wasn't valuable,
Okay, so that was you believed it made you unworthy. So then,
yeah.
and I understand that because, society stigmatizes being gay. At least they used to. More so, way more so than they do today. There's something wrong with you. You're kinky. There's, you have mental illness. There's so much stigma from people that are really ignorant. And believe me, it's still something that exists. And so, and not only that, but so it may not have necessarily come from the fear of your parents, but that was you projecting onto them your own feelings or beliefs that there was something wrong with you. So this is really important because this comes from the belief that you do think there's something wrong with you. I know you hear that and you're like, well, of course I don't. Well, clearly emotionally, at least growing up, you did.
Yeah.
To the point where you're still compensating for it. You still believe it to some degree.
I think also one thing too was, I think one, particularly with my father, I felt his love being threatened. This is all, I feel like maybe all internally too as well. It's just like, because like all the things that he would do with us were always athletic, and as a kid, I was chubby. I was like, I didn't have weight. I was fat, kind of, and that kind of, I just wasn't drawn to those activities. So, like my older brother, you would get that attention from him, at least in my perception, and that way I felt like I needed to
I see.
compensate. Yeah.
Got it. So, and keep in mind, you're thinking, what you're speaking for is a child right now.
Right.
Like, you're giving a child a voice. Now, I want you to question, and what did that child really need to hear? Because there was no correction in those thoughts because you didn't express them.
Yeah. Just like...
I'm glad you're expressing them now, right? But when you hear it, you're like, oh, I understand more. I assumed, because my brother was thinner, that he was more connected to my father. I felt a lack of connection because I was insecure about my weight.
Right.
Because you still could have been active. I mean, really large kids are super active, right? So the problem was you felt bad about your weight early on and withheld yourself from connecting with your father that way. You held yourself hostage.
Right.
He didn't. You did. You withheld that type of connection with him. Now, can you see as a child why you wouldn't know that? It was unconscious. You just had a feeling of maybe inadequacy and fear that he wouldn't love you as much. You never gave him a chance either.
Right.
You really need to give yourself a lot of grace from your childhood perspective.
I think that's something, like you speak about that in your video, the word grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something I'm kind of struggling to understand.
That's understandable because you're still struggling, right? If you knew what I was talking about and you could have an experience of feeling it, you go, oh, that's what that is. It means that, well, grace in terms of, if you visualize it, grace is like give, room. You need to give it room. When something has very little grace, it's really tight and strict and there's no room. When I say give it grace, I'm saying think about it from a variety of different angles. So it gives it room. You need to give yourself room, okay, and space to see that perspective needs to be given the context that it had. It's a child's perspective without any awareness of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're actually forgiving it and going, oh, that was really naive. That was probably not true, is it? It's true what you felt. It's true what you felt. That is not an argument. It is true that you felt that. It's true that it inhibited you inhibited yourself because of those emotions. But your perspective, if your father heard this, he'd go, oh my God, no. We just thought you didn't like it. You weren't into it. And that's not the case. You would have been just as athletic and just as active if you didn't judge your weight and think you were a bad person because of it.
Right. Okay, I see.
So
what you're saying.
we're giving it grace. Like we're giving the child right now. It's right? It's like,
I was just thinking like how hard I was judging that child,
Oh yeah, and that's why you have these issues, because you were kind of an asshole to yourself at a young age. A total asshole.
Yeah, I was pretty bitter to a lot of people.
Well, to yourself.
As a child, well, yeah.
And then you can see how that would come out, right? Because you're bitter, you're resentful. I'm hearing resent too. You resented that relationship that you yourself withheld yourself from because you judged your weight, right? So you're the one who's withholding yourself, not your dad. He didn't withhold you. You did.
Right, no.
But it really was your beliefs. If you didn't believe your weight had anything to do with who you are and your quality as a person, would you have gone out and played with your dad?
Yeah, or like with other kids or whatever.
Totally. Just think about that in and of itself. If you did not shame body fat as a kid and you didn't care, how would that have changed your life?
Yeah, I wouldn't have like this particular issue, I guess. Yeah.
Well, look at it holistically. Like, how much would it have changed? Because you would have played with other kids, you would have interacted differently, you would have put yourself out there. And what do you think that how that would have impacted your sense of, interaction with others? Just developing your own sense of confidence in who you are and what you're, right? Because you never really exposed that at a young age. You held yourself hostage because you were too fat and no one liked it, right? That thin supremacy bullshit. And so if you had just not cared, you would have interacted with people and they would have interacted back with you.
Oh, yeah.
And how would that affect your sense of self-esteem?
It would have been, it would have definitely been better, or I wouldn't have had such a low self-esteem all these years, I guess.
Yeah, and just think about what that would have impacted. What type of impact would that have had in your development as a human being? It would have been huge.
Yeah.
It would have been huge.
I wouldn't be, I guess I wouldn't have to focus so much on myself anymore. No. And regardless of the sexuality, that's like, to me, that's like, so what? It's like your real self, the sense of self in that you're a human that deserves to interact with people. Whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you're gay, whether you're not gay, whether you're not in a wheelchair, whether you have your head shaved, if you don't have hair and you do have hair, it doesn't fucking matter. You're a worthy human being, and you never really developed that as a child. So can you see why you feel so immature when it comes to what's the right? I just want to be valued. How do I do it? You're stuck at how old? You're stuck at what? 7, 8, 9 years old? Yeah.
You've never really expressed the truth of yourself. You've always expressed the truth of what you think other people will like.
Yeah.
So you're a slave. A soul slave to other people. And that is torture. That's torture. That's what brought me to suicide. I couldn't do it anymore. I remember when I came to recovery, I felt like I didn't even know I always used to wonder what it was like when you ask someone a question about themselves and they have an answer. What's your favorite color? How do they know that? Something so dumb.
No, that's actually where I'm at right now. It's because I don't know, like, people ask me so many questions and they just can't answer that right now, because I'm figuring out that a lot of what I made myself was just, like, mirroring other people. And
yeah, you never really honored your own life. You were mimicking someone else's life.
Right.
It's almost, I remember watching other girls in junior high and going, I want to look like them, dress like them, I want to be them. And it wasn't really them I wanted to be. It was the fantasy I attached that they were happy, that they had this sense of, they had that direction, a sense of direction. Like they know. I clearly don't, And some of that was because I was always told, I was very much, lived in a house of a lot of opinions, and there's no blame. It is what it is, and I transcended it, so it doesn't really matter what promoted it. It's an infinite life experience that promoted this in me, and some people believe karma and past life, whatever. But I transcended it because I had to, at some point, like, wake up. You know, when they talk about I'm awake, I woke, here we are, I'm alive now. I lived a good 20 years dead. Totally dead. I take that back. I was alive until about 4 years old. Then I died. And I say that figuratively, right?
Right.
I really didn't have a soul. I really didn't have a soul expression. I didn't have a sense of myself. It was always someone else, something else, out there. And eventually you die. And you can't, and you're grasping onto your body in some image of the body as if that's what's going to keep you alive. And it's just a fucking image. So you and I both know it's a lie. It's all artificial.
Right.
And you got to maintain it so the binging and purging can't go away. Which means you're going to suffer for the rest of your life. Unless you let go of the image. You have to let go of that image in your head.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I feel like almost like I'm coming to a crossroads where I can see enough times that, okay, this is really what's causing it, and I can't keep, suppressing it. And
no, because your misery is going up, I'm assuming. Depression's going up, anxiety's going up, isolation's probably going back up.
In some ways, yeah. But also just I feel like my tolerance level for how much I'm willing to, put energy into that is also getting way lower.
Yeah, well, that's what happens as you get older, right? You become a much more mature and you have real life to deal with, and it's so superficial. It's like maintaining a lie for who? Well, it's just for you.
Right.
No one else really gives a shit. And if they do, you're their slave. You got to starve for someone else. You have to starve for someone else. They don't starve. You have to.
I think one of the things that was, at least I encountered just this week is just like, so like I'm seeing someone, I guess, usually it's on the weekends when we can see each other, and like, a part of me is ready to just, embrace that, like, embrace the judgment of whatever might come, with not trying to, hurry up and try to lose weight before I see him again or something like that, because that's kind of how it's been.
Well, it sounds like you might be projecting that childish perspective with your father onto this person.
Oh my God, yeah.
You didn't see that?
No, I didn't.
You need to lose weight to have a relationship with your father. You're kind of projecting that on to other men that you want a relationship with. Not to say that the gay community doesn't have a shit ton of eating disorders, because they do. You do.
Right.
Then supremacy, and we talked about this. I'm like, I'll tell you where it comes from. It's not. It's kind of gross. It's actually really shitty. It's called pedophilia.
Actually, after you brought that up, I've been actually seeing it a lot more. So
yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah, and the pathology of predators too. Just think about that for a second. Kind of makes your stomach kind of go puke a little bit. naturally.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of gross.
Yeah.
Anyways, So when you think about what you're going to need to be willing to do in any relationship is you kind of need to get those daddy issues resolved, which really aren't daddy issues. They're your own self issues with your, with really important relationships, you know, and as you're trying to find a mate, you do not want to bring that shit with you because you're projecting things onto that person that they have nothing to do with it. You know, and when you want to, if you really want to find a mate, you need to know, number one, you need to know who you are. You need to know yourself because that's what you're going to present. You're still struggling with you're hollow. You're presenting what you think they want. You're presenting a kind of a artificial concept of yourself.
Right.
So how does that person even like you? They like the artificial concept of yourself. So if you are going to recover, and the real truth of who you are begins to develop, they might not like you. They like the artificial self that you promoted.
Right. And that's where it just, you know, wouldn't work, so.
Yeah, I mean, how can you actually be real if you don't know what real is? You know what fake is. You know what I mean? You know what those personas are supposed to be, and you're pretending. You got to give people the truth. They can find the pretend person there's a lot of places they can find that. How many people are pretending? Fitting the mold, fitting the concept, they're being what they think that is.
Yeah.
You know, this is the women do the same thing. How am I supposed to talk? How am I supposed to look? How should I have sex? What am I supposed to do? Everything is modeled for them, and they just become robots, right?
Yeah.
And they wonder why they suffer with such significant emotional and psychological problems stemming from a lack of self-worth. Because they don't even know what they are or who they are or what their value is. They're just, I'm kind of this concept worth. My worth comes from a concept of what I should be. It's an image. It's an idea. It's a model. But it's hollow. Empty. Dead. It's a concept. You devote your life to this concept. And you're attracting people who are attracted to that concept. What do you think your likelihood of getting abused is?
Yeah, it would be...
You're certainly not attracting people who are looking for something authentic and real and truthful. You're attracting someone who wants the image, the idea, the look. They're not necessarily looking for your kindness, your graciousness. They're not really necessarily looking for that.
Yeah.
Again, the more you compromise your truth and promote something that is false, the more your psyche is compromised. And the more likely you are to attract people that want someone to compromise themselves. So ultimately, you know, you're doing this with yourself. Screw everybody else. You're the one who's compromising yourself because you're seeking the image. You're the one that wants the image.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's where I need to get back to. Because I feel like I'm just kind of going off, avoiding it a little bit and trying to like look at other people and other relationships or whatever.
No, you got to go into why are you chasing the mirage? And can you exist in reality? Like as what is? Like what is the bare bone truth of everything? You know, have we visualized, have I gone through with you and visualized what your life would be like if you lost your eyesight?
I don't think so.
I think we should do this.
Okay.
Have you heard any of the sessions where I walk people through it?
I think so.
Okay. Well, it's pretty simple. I want you to imagine, for whatever reason, you lose your eyesight permanently. You go blind permanently. Like,
okay.
Tell me what would change. Just what would change to this your self concept?
I would just want to have interactions with people that, are honest and make me feel love inside,
Well,
I can't see anything, so I'm not looking.
And how would that change things? How would that change how you perceive yourself? Because you no longer can see yourself. You can't see what you look like. You can't. How would that impact your whole body image stuff?
It would just, be gone, I guess. It would be really, really hard to try to have a body image that. Right?
Because it's just sounds so goofy.
Yeah.
I mean, you trust someone to say, okay, do I at least, how's my hair look? You would just kind of, trust that someone else has some discernment around, you look normal, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're wearing, Anyways, you would blend in. You'd hope that someone help you blend into the background. How would you interact with people, What would be important to you?
Just if they're probably just making them laugh or just seeing whatever interest I have, bring that forward or something, or I don't know.
It would be different, right?
Yeah, it'd be different.
How'd that feel?
It'd feel relieving, first of all.
Would probably feel truthful. What would be the relieving factor? Is it that you no longer have to pretend to be something you're not?
Right. Yeah, that would be the big relief there.
Why do you have to lose your eyesight to do that?
I don't know.
Do you think it's because you've gotten caught up in and made the way you look and the way other people look? It has become way too important.
Yeah.
Way, way too defining.
Yeah, definitely.
So by going blind, you can't use it anymore. So it would be like winning the lottery for you. Because you would relate to people from more of an authentic, integrous way. It would be more about connecting with their person, just their essence, the essence of the person you're with. Doesn't mean you have to like the same music or like the same things. You just have to really connect with the essence of the person.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Where you're just I don't know, I just really love their essence. I love their energy. I like that they're positive people. They're not always complaining. They're not always angry. They're not always in drama. The essence of the person and their state of being.
Yeah.
You're sounding like...
I feel like it's kind of scary.
Why? Why is that scary? What's more scary? Let's just think about what's more scary. Someone that is relating to others based on their energy and their attitude and their state of being, or someone that's relating to you based on the way you look compared to some ideal they have in their mind about what you should look like.
I guess that just seems more safe. Still in my head.
it might be perceived as safe, but what does it require for you to be safe?
A whole lot of work and
is that safe? How is that worked out for you? Is that really safe? Misery?
No, it's a lot of work and it's too much.
Okay, so is that safe?
No.
It's really quite dangerous. Would you recommend, if you had a little brother, would you say, here's what you're going to do? You got to find out what other people like, and you got to be better than that.
Right, okay. I see what you're saying.
And that is safe. Which one's more safe? Think about it. The truth, the reality, not some fantasy fiction. Because you're really not safe, are you? I mean, look at what's happened to your psychological well-being. Keep that in mind. Sure, the safety is in that you can manipulate people into thinking something based on just trying to conform. But the reality of your life is you're miserable. You're a slave. It's a lot of work just to be safe from someone's criticism. Do you really want to be around people that are highly critical of dumb shit?
Right. No.
Is it really safe to be in relationships with people like that?
No.
It's really not, because they don't really care about the essence of who you are. They care more about the superficial nature of what you're wearing and what you look like, right?
So, how do I connect, like what you said, to the essence, who I am? I don't know.
Well, it's something that has existed and does exist and will always exist. It's something that it should feel like there's a sense of yourself that's been there since you were a child. Like permanent. It's permanent. I know for me it was, and it's so basic. It's a real basic feeling. So when you watch my YouTube videos, what is the essence that you get from me? You're not going to hurt my feelings if you call me a bitch.
What do you think?
I asked when you watch my YouTube videos, what is the essence you get from me?
The essence. I guess the essence, the words I would use is just honesty and truth and just that's kind of what I get. I don't know if that's
Okay.
what you're asking.
I'm just that what you're sensing. Okay, you're correct. I'm super honest, a little blunt and truthful. What I feel, and that's kind of like the truth and the honesty that comes across comes from my heart, which is the integrity around helping someone see a way out of this, right? So there's a lovingness that is why I tell the truth. There's actual care. I care. I'm a caring person. Not a rescuer, but I care. I actually care about the matter. To where I'm willing to be so honest. So what I'm trying to get you to do, there's something like that in you that will come across in just the way you are. Just with everybody. With your parents, it doesn't change. The way you are with your parents is the way you're going to be with future, mate, boyfriend, girlfriends, friends. It doesn't matter. You're the same person no matter who you're interacting with. It's the same being. And it's really truthful. So I think what you need to ask yourself is, what is the truth about me? What is truthful? And no one can take it. No one can give it. No one can. It's real true about my sense of being. So for me, it was so basic. It's like, I'm kind. I'm actually a really kind and loving person. I'm fun. I'm creative, and these are all human traits. So it's not like that's me and they're my traits. They're not. They're very human traits. And they're very truthful. Like, these are things that I like. I want to have fun. I like rainbows, and I'm easy to get along with. And I'm pretty easy because I accommodate. I'm super accommodating. That's easy. I'm easy. And that's how I am with everybody. I don't like drama. I don't like to tell people. I just don't like drama. So you see how that's like, there's an essence there of who I am, and everybody else is that way to some degree. And so I'm not better than anybody else. I'm just a human being with human traits. See how basic that is? Why do I got to be better than that? Should I not be the animal I am? Should a dog not be a dog? I remember thinking, too, I used to be so jealous of animals that didn't have to care about their weight. I remember really one time thinking, how come cows don't have to care about their weight? And they're free. Cows are free to roam and chew on their gut. And no one gives a shit.
Yeah, they're fat.
And no one cares.
No one cares, yeah.
And they don't feel bad about themselves. No one's all concerned about their weight. I remember really, really being kind of like pissed. I'd rather be a cow.
Right.
But I'm not a human. Why can't I just be a human then? Why do I have to be alien? Why do I have to be beyond human? Isn't that cruel? It'd be like telling, it's like telling a whale that it should walk.
Yeah, that's weird. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, why can't you just be human? Why do you got to be better than that? To pretend that you're better than human, that is just, you're miserable. You're just not admitting it, when people are that way. It's like, you're a miserable person, especially if they think they're better than you. They're miserable people.
Yeah.
Sucks for them. But for me, I'm cool just being a dirty human. Here I am. Picking my nose and flicking my boogers. I did just say that.
Oh, yeah.
Did you even hear what I said?
I heard you, yeah.
You're still in shock. Oh, God. Why do we have to pretend to be like we're better than that? Because we're not. You just need to spend some time differentiating between the lies of your persona, like what's not real and what is real. What's not real? How much persona have you taken on? It's like being an actor in a movie and you're playing a role. How much of the role has nothing to do with you? It is a cloak. It is a shield. It is a pretend so that you can fake people into thinking you're something you're not. Just be truthful with yourself. And if you're not truthful with yourself, why? What are you judging? I have a favorite quote. Let me find it. I have a really good friend who was married and had kids, and I really loved her, and she was having a hard time, and she had confided in me, and I was having basically the same conversation with her, and she came out of the closet a few months later, and I was so proud of her. I didn't know she was gay, but basically I'm like, what's true and what's not? What's fake? You know, be real and let people who love you for who you are and who you really are. And actually, her and her ex-husband are like best friends. They were married over 20 years. And he really loved her. It's just the marriage, the way it was, isn't going to work anymore. She's now married and has a wife. Anyways, this is a quote that I had sent her before I even knew she was gay. She didn't come out of the closet even during these conversations. I just knew she was struggling similarly, right? So this is from Raphael Kushner. How to celebrate the present moment. Okay, it says, telling the truth when we feel vulnerable is one of the hardest things to do. We might fear rejection, abandonment, disapproval, disappointment, rage, hurt, or just the raw exposure. That's an unavoidable part of the process. Yet, almost every time we're willing to tell a hard truth, we grow and deepen in presence, no matter the response. The energy that we previously locked up to maintain a false front is now freed to uplift and enliven us. Isn't that awesome? I think you just need to tell yourself the truth. It's not really about anybody else.
Yeah.
Because I think you're your biggest critic. You're the one who's unwilling to just be authentic. You know, no one else is holding you hostage. And when you come out of the closet as a real person rather than a fake person, right? Mm-hmm. When people are critical, you won't give a shit. You just won't care. The problem is because you're not being truthful, you do care. Because you want to become what you want them to like. And so if they don't like whatever you're presenting, you have to change what that is. Again, it's a whole lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Am I making any sense?
Yeah, you're making sense.
So we could go back and say, okay, so what if you were born into a body that naturally is a little overweight? Just naturally sits on the heavier side.
That's what I was about to say, is like, what if, I think that's what I was kind of scared of. It's like, what if that's just the naturally way?
You mean the truth? What if that's the truth? Yeah. I need you to hear that. It's like, holy shit, well, what if it is the truth and that's the only, and that body type requires no dieting. It requires no binging and purging. You just think about it. Again, if you were to go blind, that would probably be the body, or that's where your body would end up, right? Because this whole binge, purge bullshit just disappears.
Right.
Poof, it's gone. Doesn't even occur. There's no point to it.
Yeah. Then I have to try to think about, I don't know. It won't be able to be my looks anymore that I have to.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Because now you can connect with people from something more truthful, more authentic, and more grounded, more rooted, more stable. And not only that, but it doesn't require you have horrible mental illness. It'll be more secure, you know? So you basically need to blind this bullshit body image from your life. That's what you need to get rid of. You just make that black out. Why do you got to be blind? Why can't you blind yourself from the goddamn image that is so horrible? The image you have in your mind that you glamorized, that image does not include mental health problems, does it?
No.
You might want to add that to the image.
Oh my god. Yeah.
You and I both know it's quite Horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why would you, and even if you were naturally that way, do you really want people to only like you for the way you look? Is that really the depth of what life's about and relationships are about?
No.
Right? It's kind of like for some people like who are really wealthy, they have a hard time relating to people because they can't tell if someone likes them for their money or not. So they actually act like they're poor. They'll hide it. Because they want authentic relationships. So in your case, do you really want people to give you like you just for the way that you look? Because in that case, do they really like you or do they just like the look?
Right.
They just like the look. They really don't like you. And what happens when your looks change because you get older?
Oh my God.
Yeah, the relationship is over and that person's going to find someone else who just likes to look that way. There's no real relationship there. It's all fake. It's all facade and it's all superficial, right? So when it comes to actually relating to someone, when you relate to them from a heart level, the worldliness of them is really irrelevant.
I think what I'm kind of just like hearing all this, and I can remember each time that, before this I knew that to be true, but I remember when I sacrificed that, what I knew, like, I remember those instances where I sacrificed that truth for wanting to believe this other thing.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that when you did that, that's where things got bad for you?
That's where things got bad.
Yeah, that's like lying. So you have lied, right? You sacrificed the truth and you lied. It's like lying to the soul.
Right.
For what? For a moment to believe someone might like you? Or is that liking worth it?
No.
Right? Wouldn't you rather just reject that? Because here's the thing. Once again, it's like even if you could be that image, do you really want the attention because of that? The relationships because of that? Is that what you want to use to build relationships with?
No.
Right? So you would reject it. That's the funny thing is if it came natural and you didn't have to suffer like this and all you got were superficial relationships, you would start rejecting those relationships. You wouldn't be attracted to them at all. The problem is you're coming from a state of famine. You're coming from a state of lacking with your own father, and you're trying to make up for that with other people. You had lacking within your relationship with your weight that projected into your relationship with your father, and now that's going into all of your relationships with men. So if we can reconcile this relationship with your weight, what will happen to the rest of that bullshit?
It'll just
go away.
It won't matter anymore.
Poof.
Lifted, I guess.
Yeah, because then you're going to start relating to your father from a heart level, which is what he's probably been doing with you. You didn't even know it. And then all this other compensatory shit, you won't even be attracted to that crap. You'll be like, oh, hell no, that is like dangerous. So you'll actually see the danger in what you've been doing rather than the illusion of safety and pretending to be something you're not because that's safe and they'll like you. When in reality, you're living in hell with fire everywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah, more. Because I said safety earlier, and what you said made more sense, like an illusion of safety.
Yeah, when in reality it's extremely dangerous and you're suffering because of it. You wouldn't recommend this to anybody.
Right.
Even though you've promoted it in your head as beneficial, the reality that you live in, day out, is horrendous.
Right.
It's horrible. So you surrender it. when you surrender the thin body image that you've been obsessed with and that you've been trying to promote and pretend to be, when that goes away, you are essentially saying, and it so is the attention and the superiority and the all of what I got out of it. I don't want that anymore. I don't want it. It's not worth it. I would rather be alone and real and have real relationships and take my time and get to know who I am and to actually have a good relationship with my dad, you know, to where when I have a relationship with someone else, I'm not putting them in that position to be my dad to compensate for how shitty I have felt about that relationship. You know, you don't want to do that to people. Am I making any sense right now?
Yeah.
Is this helping?
Yeah, it is. I guess now, a lot of things make sense now, because I remember you telling it to other people, and for some reason it didn't really quite make sense, but now it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess now I'm just realizing that like good, you did that thing, I think, in one of your other videos where you, like, walk them through being in, like, a fat body or
coming out of coming out of the closet where everybody's looking at them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You need to do that, too. This is like coming out of the closet. You've done this already. Now you're going to do it again, but to yourself.
Before in all those other videos, though, I heard you doing that with those other people, and at that time, I feel like it still sounded scary. I was like, oh yeah, I could do that, but mentally I was thinking that, but now it's just like, okay, wait, that's not, it's like, feeling-wise and just, like, I guess with really accepting that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like really, like actually going through it. The reality of letting go of this old concept that, well, it's a concept that you've held on to that it's just not real. It's not real. It's fake. And you're doing it for someone else. And what do you get out of it? A moment to think, okay, I was successful at the fake persona. You'd have to be willing to be rejected. It's actually willing to come out of the closet and tell the truth. And what it would feel like is, I'm a loser. I failed.
Yeah. I was just thinking now that I was kind of mentally kind of putting myself there a little bit, and a lot of the things that came up was just a lot of the pain that I felt when I was, as a kid and being fat and all that.
And what would
be like? I'd have to go back into that.
Yes, and ask, am I not worthy? Am I not worthy? Is this body not worthy? Even if someone says, oh, he's fat, he's overweight, I don't want to be friends with him. Ew. You're like, okay, is that worth holding yourself hostage for? Should you hide your life from people and from yourself because someone else is judgy? I remember for me, when I was kind of visualizing what life would be like if I were to get another body, a new one. And I remember thinking, okay, well, what if I'm born into a fat body? My first response was, oh no, I gotta fix it. And then immediately I thought, oh hell no, I'm not doing that again. I am not doing that. I'm not gonna do this again. I'm about to commit suicide to end this bullshit. why would I start the next relationship with the body the same way? No. I had to face a life of being fat. I had to face it. And I really realized, like, well, who's to say that I'm not going to have a hand or arms? I could be born without sight, hearing. I mean, think of all the different body ailments and limitations someone can be born with. And you just accept it and work your life around it, right? So if I'm overweight, if I can accept it, even if other people can't, if I can accept it, because it's the body I'm in, it's not the body they're in, it's the body I'm in. So I'm the one that has to accept it. If I accept it unconditionally, no matter what anybody thinks about it, right? No matter what anybody thinks about it, it's not just my thoughts about it unconditionally, it's also other people's perspective about it. If I can accept the life that it gives me without condition, I am free because I won't care. I'm going to present the essence of me. I'm going to be the real essence of what this soul is, no matter what body I'm in, because I will never, ever destroy the life that a body gives me over something so dumb as to what size the body is. I won't do it. And I also realized, why can't I live with the essence of me in this body? Why do I got to get a brand new body to free my soul and wake up and actually become alive? Like, I'm alive. I have a soul now. For 20 years, I was empty. It was dead, soulless. Right? It's like my spirit left the body at 4 years old, never returned until I was 21. 20 years ago, right? When I recovered. And I've been the essence of me ever since. So if I gain 20 pounds, if I gain 50 pounds, would this conversation change?
No.
You know it. I don't give a shit. I could shave my head. I could lose my eyesight. This conversation would be the same. Because it's really just, right? It's just the essence of me. It's not the essence of my hair and my eyebrows and my fingernails and making sure that my arms look the way my arms aren't talking to you right now. My face isn't even expressing it. It's the soul that you're experiencing.
So should I shave my head then?
Sure. Sure. You know, who cares? If someone cares that you shaved your head, that means they want you to live in the body they want, as if it's their body. Think about that for a second. Is your body that you're in, that's giving you life, unconditionally it's giving you life, right?
Yeah.
Is it someone else's body that you should do what they want with it? Should you think about it? If someone else is critical of the body you're in, that's actually an indication of what they can't handle themselves. They couldn't handle it, right? But it's not their body, so why are they making it their business? They should do what they're comfortable with their body. They have a body. Why can't they just keep themselves in their own parameter, right? Why is their life, the parameters of their life control, invading your life and the body that you're in? Did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
That's something that was really pivotal for me too. It's like, if someone has an opinion about the body I'm in, that someone thinks that I should do with the body I'm in what they think I should do with it. Like I'm their slave. It's not their body. I mean, I could see if it was their body that I would do what they needed me to do with their body. I should honor what they would want with their body. But it's not their body that I am in. So why am I honoring their opinion about my body? They have their own body to actually do what they want with. I do not want someone in my life that is going to take ownership and claim my life. as theirs. That right there is not okay. So there's a boundary there, right? That's a boundary you haven't really put up yet. You've given your life and the body away to people who want it.
Okay, so that would be the box then. Like, because I was just thinking, like, there's things that I want to do, and, like, before I couldn't see any of that stuff happening in a different body other than one that was, you know, thinner or something, or I couldn't see it happening in a fat body. Is basically what I'm saying. But that's just not the case, I guess. That's just me mentally making all that stuff.
You're right. You're basically saying if you have body fat, you are lifeless, cannot do anything. You're not allowed to live. You cannot be alive. So imagine you get imagine you die and you get another chance, but the next body is fat. What are you going to do?
Can do basically what I still wanted to do before, but in a different body, right?
Well, you can. What if it's fat though? What you gonna do? You basically say you can't live now? I gotta lose weight first?
No.
What if you just accept it? Just accept that's what it is. It's got how many thousands of years of evolution went into your body's DNA? You know, 200 years ago, if you were born 200 years ago, would you care about your weight?
No.
Nuh-uh. How come 200 years ago people got to have more freedom than you do today?
Because I took it upon myself to, like...
Believe this bullshit? Correct. So why can't you just give this body a chance to just be a body? And then what happens when you do that is you get freedom to be a real soul and to actually express the truth of what's inside. And you get to start over and develop just like a 4-year-old, right?
Yeah.
You just got to let this body be what it is. And decide, to be what it is. What's the truth of the body? What is the truth of the body? What is it? You stop the insanity. Stop micromanaging food. Stop any of the binging and the purging episodes. Like, completely stop all of it. Allow yourself to be a natural, normal human being. Eat when you're hungry. Eat adequately. No more of this emotional eating. No more of the binging and purging. No more dieting. No more weighing yourself. No more giving a shit. What is the truth of your natural body? Not your binge eating and purging body. Not your starved body. Not your over-exercised body. Just your 1901 body. Like it, right? Go back to 1850. What is your body supposed to be like if you were in the early 1900s? What if you were born in 1972? What would that body be like? Right? The moment you let this body be and you let it go, just let it be, what do you get?
Freedom.
Yeah. Was that a memorized answer? Have you watched enough videos of mine?
Yeah.
You get freedom. Now you get to just be a soul. It's like that blind person that doesn't get to care anymore, doesn't have to give a shit. Right? You get to create relationships based on the essence of who you are really. You're no longer going to play the role of this facade. Someone else can win that game. Let them do it. What would happen to the obsessiveness over food if you could just accept the body in its natural state?
And I would get to just, eat what I want.
Yeah, what would happen to dieting and restricting?
There wouldn't be need to.
Nuh-uh. What would happen to the shame that you experience when you eat?
That wouldn't be there.
It would go away too. So then what would happen to the binging?
And the binging wouldn't be there.
And then there's no point to purging, right? Because there would be no badness either. Because it's not just... So not only would the binging go away, the purging would go away too. Because the only reason you're purging is to get rid of the shame.
Right. Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, Robin, you're describing recovery. That's like winning the lottery. Well, it is, but you know what? You're not going to get any of that lottery if you keep on holding on to that douchebaggery of a body. That body that you've been worshiping is a horrible, horrible, mentally ill body. Super self-centered and narcissistic. And it's all a lie. It's all fake. You just got to be willing to tell the truth to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. What's the truth of the body? Can you accept it? Because that's really the main thing here. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's you're the one that's the asshole about it, right? You're the one that has to be okay with the truth of this body. What if it's 50 pounds heavier naturally? No dieting, no binging, no purging, all that. We just kind of went through the line of what goes away as soon as you accept your weight. So what if your weight is at 50 pounds when you eat naturally like a normal person? What if that's it? 50 pounds. Requires no starving, no food morality, no food religion, which means there's no more food shame, which means there's no more food binging, which means there's no more food purging, no more restrictive again, no binging, no purging, no binging. All that goes away at 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Guess that means that you just have to find different friends and different interests and different things to live for. Because you can't be...
Well, are you saying that if you gain 50 pounds, your friends would go away?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, I would just have to interact with people in a way that's not about my body.
Yeah.
And just...
I love that. Wouldn't that be great? Be relieving,
yeah.
Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be so relieving?
Yeah.
You actually need to develop a sense of what that person is that's interacting with them, right? It's like starting as a baby. Even though you're not a baby. What if I were to tell you we just basically gave you the map of how to recover?
It's great. I mean,
pretty easy, right? Right? It's so easy compared to what you've been doing. It's like, I do nothing? Yeah, you do nothing. You let the truth come out. You let the truth physically manifest. So go back to that 50-pound weight gain. You gained 50 pounds. That's a lot, right?
Yeah, I know
Well, who cares? If that's the truth of the body, are you going to be okay with it? Are you truthfully? Don't give me the answer you think I want to hear. I want you to go into your sense of what it's going to feel like. If it means that you don't have to starve yourself anymore and basically lie, if that's the natural state of the body that you were born into, is that something you can accept so that you can actually move on with your life and actually wake up and start living?
Yeah, I mean, you have to get bigger clothes. And,
totally.
but I still got to do everything. I want to go hiking or something.
Sure. Why not? Lots of people hike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd still be active. So that's kind of like, well, some things wouldn't change, you know, because there's some things you actually enjoy.
Yeah, I would go hiking, but I wouldn't be running on a treadmill for an hour after I ate, you know, bowl of food or something like that.
Yeah, that's the exercise bulimia. You wouldn't have to do that anymore. You could actually move on and think about your reality instead of being so tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
That's called slavery. You mean a slave. To that thinner body. That thinner body's kind of abusive, isn't it?
Yeah.
No. It's actually more abusive and more torturous and more harmful than anything and any human being that you've ever interacted with. That thin body has been horrendous, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if someone made you run on a treadmill for an hour after you ate just to say you're a good person or okay?
Yeah,
No, but that's what you're doing. That's the thin image in your mind. That's what it has to do.
Yeah.
That thin image, it's so amazing. Remember, you said it was safe.
Yeah.
It sounds quite toxic to me. Do you really want what that thin body has to give you? Is it worth it? Is it really worth it? Having to exercise like that for an hour after you work out?
Right. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
I don't think so. I quit a long time ago. But I did the same thing. I used to get on the Versa climber for like an hour and 20 minutes. Nutso. It's really a matter of just coming out of the closet to yourself.
Come out of the closet as a fat person or something.
Well, whatever it is, who cares? It's like if you have red hair, you have red hair. If you're 6'5", you're 6'5". If you're 4'8", you're 4'8". Just why can't you actually inhabit your body? You know, just accept what it is. Here's your genetics. I mean, you're trying to fight reality. It's like you can't even accept the body you're in. You can't even connect with the body you're in. What makes you think you could connect with any other human being on this planet? It's all hollow and shallow. You can't even connect with the body you're in. You might want to start there so that you can have a genuine relationship with somebody else outside of the body. You know, get to know your genuine self. Be genuine with yourself. If the body you're in is inferior, it is what it is. You want to spend the rest of your life trying to prove it's not?
No.
Well, you're currently doing it. What makes you think you're going to stop? What's it going to take for you to stop what you're doing? How much more do you need to suffer? You know? It really is a matter of just quitting. I know that sounds so ridiculous. You just you quit. And when you quit, what comes up is the truth of the body. And it's going to be scary, but you don't go into it going, I hope I don't gain weight. How's that going to end?
Yeah. I guess I feel like I know what I have to do then.
No, you just have to assume and accept it ahead of time, and you're free.
Yeah.
Snap. It's over. It's that quick. You're going to have to go through a grieving process, right? There's a process of really committing to it. Right now, I'm presenting it to you. I'm like, here's what recovery is, what it's going to take, and what it looks like. You can have it, or you can keep on doing what you're doing. And so maybe you can see it more clearly now. And you need to really contemplate and have deep, really deep, truthful thoughts with yourself, and be real around what sacrifices you're going to have to make to just be free from this shit. Because this whole eating disorder crap is only there because you have to be in a thin body to feel that you're good enough.
Right.
And the sucky part about it is you're attracting people who think the same way. You need to be in a thin body to be good enough. Okay. You all can suffer with eating disorders. And it's virtually impossible to escape if you're not willing to surrender what you get from the thinner body, right? Which is the concept of being superior and special and feeling like you have some value. You have to be willing to give all that up to establish a sense of value from the truth rather than a lie or falsehood. You know, when you're all thin and feeling good about yourself, if you had a sign that said, hey, I'm obsessive, compulsive, and bulimic, and I binge and purge, and I'm obsessed with my weight, would it really be that valuable if people knew the truth?
Yeah, no.
No. That's the truth, though. That's the truth, that you actually have all this mental illness, and you're hiding that.
Right.
You know, if people are like, yeah, I fit into this size, and I'm like super anorexic and bulimic, and I'm narcissistic, self-centered, and all I do is obsess about food, and I puke it up in the bathroom, and all I think about is how I need to go exercise, and yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I would back away, right? Back away. Problem is people don't necessarily connect the truth with the facade. They just see the facade and this illusion of greatness. And the truth of the matter is when someone is promoting themselves with that thin superior identity, they're actually stuck in this state of mind. I personally see danger. I don't see safety.
Right.
And I feel for these people. I feel for you. I do. I've been there. You really need to question if this thinner concept that you're struggling to maintain and suffering psychologically to promote, if it's really, really worth what you originally thought it was going to be, and how much benefit it's actually given you, how much benefit in reality has it provided you.
Right, nothing, yeah.
No, yeah, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
Toxic, self-centered, destructive, you know, but the illusion you bought into as a kid was a child's perspective, right? Now you have years of practice to realize, okay, this isn't what I thought. Wouldn't you rather go back to that overweight body? And start over? Yeah. And it wouldn't start with this body sucks. It'd be like, all right, I'm getting out there. I'm going to use it. I want to hang out with my dad. I'm going to hang out with him. Just takes that moment of vulnerability. You just got to be vulnerable and have courage to do it. Jimmy.
Well, thank you
Well, hopefully
for
this
this talk today.